5 people shot at Morgan State University. We hear from students, staff, and police as we learn more about the terrifying moments last night. Mayor Brandon Scott calling on Congress to address gun violence nationwide. Fox 45 News presses him on if he's asking the right people for help. And Baltimore mayoral hopeful Sheila Dixon holding a town hall on public safety tonight. We have a preview of the event.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
And Fox 45 News following breaking news, Morgan State University canceling or postponing all of the homecoming activities planned for the rest of the week. That news coming from the university president not long ago. According to the release, all on-campus events except the homecoming football game and homecoming gala will be canceled. Those two events will be postponed. A date for each has not yet been announced. All classes are also canceled for the rest of the week. You can find more information on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you so much for staying with us. The cancellations come after 5 people were shot on the campus last night. 4 of them are students. Fox 45 News was the first to bring you this story, and now we're continuing our coverage on the mass shooting that has rocked the campus community. We spoke to several students last night who detailed the terrifying ordeal.
We started just hearing the shots go off.
You heard gunshots?
I heard the gunshots because I was standing right there and it happened right there too. So I just saw everybody running and heard the shots going off.
I'm scared. Like, I don't even feel safe on campus.
In the moment, it all happened so fast and you didn't get a chance to react.
Well, take a look. This was the scene at Morgan State last night. A massive response. Baltimore police, state troopers, the ATF, the FBI, all on the scene. Our cameras captured police searching the campus, paramedics arriving at the scene, and windows shattered by the gunfire. Now, students sent us this video of police and SWAT teams searching the halls for suspects. The mayor and commissioner, Richard Worley, were on the scene during this lockdown and when it was lifted.
The entire city of Baltimore's heart aches for the Morgan community, for these victims and their families, and for our city as a whole.
We have team coverage of last night's shooting, starting with Rebecca Pryor. She was reporting on the scene for hours last night, has the very latest on the investigation for us.
Well, law enforcement eventually made the decision to lift the school's hours-long lockdown late last night. But today, unfortunately, students, staff, and parents still eagerly awaiting for them to make an arrest. This morning, routine maintenance continues at Morgan State.
I feel awful.
On a day that feels anything but routine.
Thank God the children survived. But what if they didn't?
With classes canceled, concerned parents rushing to campus, some taking their children home, others offering support and paying tribute to the victims.
Too many parents losing their kids.
Pamela Jagger laying down flowers outside Thurgood Marshall Hall.
It's going to be the 7th floor from my view,
where chaos unfolded last night.
The glass window of this dorm building closest to Argane Drive is where I had to shot out windows.
These broken windows ultimately what triggered a local and federal response.
Multiple windows shattered and made our officers believe possibly we had an active shooter.
According to Commissioner Richard Worley, shots rang out at around 9:25.
It was just like a ton of shots in a row, and then it stopped, and then more shots in a row.
Freshman Jordan Gibson among the dozens of students scrambling to safety.
We hid behind that for like 30 seconds to a minute.
Minutes later, campus police locating 5 victims, ages 18 to 22, 4 of them students.
I'm a Kurd. I was actually less than about 20 feet away from it. I saw people crying. I saw people on the floor. I saw people just, having like minor panic attacks and everything.
A student's cell phone video.
Nobody shooting?
Capturing the frantic search for a suspect. SWAT team seen storming the dorms.
They cleared every single floor twice. And after that, we realized the campus was most likely safe, and we opened it back up because the shooter was nowhere around that we could find.
Law enforcement now saying multiple weapons were found on scene, although it's unclear how many were fired.
Looks like it was probably a dispute between 2 smaller groups. I believe the 5 victims who were struck were unintended targets.
With the gunman still on the loose, today students and parents still shaken and shocked.
I don't feel safe with My grandbaby is going to school.
A weekend meant for homecoming festivities and celebrations, instead marked by tragedy.
And we're losing too many children. We're losing our future.
Now, at last check, we know that at least one victim has already been released from the hospital, and all of the others are expected to make full recoveries. Also, just coming in, a new announcement from the university's president saying that classes will be canceled throughout the end of this week, and homecoming festivities that were supposed to take place this weekend, they will either be canceled or postponed. Reporting from Morgan State University's campus, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
And last night's shooting marks the third year in a row violence has occurred on Morgan State University's campus during homecoming celebrations. Last homecoming, a 20-year-old man who was not a student was shot outside the Student Center. In 2021, an 18-year-old student was also shot on campus during homecoming weekend. University President Dr. David Wilson saying last night he would be holding an emergency executive team meeting to determine how homecoming plans will be impacted. Now we know that they are being postponed or delayed. The university announcing just hours ago homecoming events are canceled, as Rebecca mentioned. Last night, both the president and MSU police chief faced questions on safety measures on campus.
We've taken extraordinary measures to bring additional security resources to campus. Unfortunately, individuals respond to campus and act poorly. So even though we take extraordinary measures to increase policing, increase our camera coverage, increase different technologies that we have deployed across campus, oftentimes you can't stop a bad actor from doing bad acts.
In light of this most recent mass shooting, Mayor Brandon Scott now calling on the federal government to step in. He says gun violence is a national issue and should be handled like one.
We have to stop saying not one more. We need action now. There are things that can be done, particularly at the level of Congress, that could help stop the next shooting on a campus.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost questioned the mayor about these comments and what he wants from Capitol Hill. She continues our team coverage.
Mayor Brandon Scott says it's up to Congress to address this crisis, but we're pressing him to find out why he believes this time will be different, especially when congressional leaders have failed to enact some of the same policies the mayor is now calling for. Meanwhile, here in Maryland, some tough on crime plans continue to fail to get enough support. The scene at Morgan State University Tuesday night is becoming more frequent in communities across the country. And it's why Baltimore City Mayor Brandon Scott says he's looking to lawmakers in Washington to craft policy.
We must address the nationwide proliferation of guns.
But we push the mayor on why congressional leaders are the right people for this crisis. Congress, we just saw, can hardly pass a budget. They just ousted their speaker yesterday. It's chaos on Capitol Hill. Why do you believe that these members in Washington, D.C. can address this problem when they're struggling to do the basic functions of government?
Because it's their job, Mackenzie. The same way that the residents of Baltimore City want me to make sure that the police department is actually out there arresting these individuals.
The mayor says there needs to be more pressure on federal lawmakers to take it seriously when someone picks up a gun and decides to pull the trigger. Mayor Scott calling for significant policy shifts. So what specific legislation are you looking for?
There's a bunch. So I can run the whole list down and I'll get Brian to send you more. One, they should ban ghost guns, period. They should remove the immunity for gun manufacturers, period. They should ban assault rifles and magazines, period.
Why can't you and other state leaders push for legislation at the state level to ensure there are tougher penalties for people who shoot and kill other people?
I think that when you look at Maryland's laws around guns and gun violence, we have some of the best in the country, Mackenzie. The guns are coming in from other places, other states. That is why this is a national issue. It's a both and, Mackenzie, not an either or.
But there have been attempts locally to go after trigger pullers. Year after year, Republicans backing plans calling for tougher penalties, like the Violent Firearms Offender Act or the Repeat Violent Offender Act. Both plans implementing mandatory minimum sentences for people who use guns in their crimes. With a Democratic supermajority in Annapolis, those plans repeatedly failing to gain enough support to pass. Now, more victims forever scarred by bullets flying. According to the Gun Violence Archive, Morgan State University is the 9th mass shooting in Baltimore City this year, and the leader of Baltimore looking to leaders in Washington for answers. Mayor Brandon Scott and other leaders from Baltimore City have not supported those same tough on crime plans in Annapolis that have been introduced year after year. Outside City Hall, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
For more of our coverage on the Morgan State shooting, including the latest comments from the Baltimore Police Commissioner, head to our website, foxbaltimore.com. It's all there. Well, happening right now, Baltimore mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon holding a town hall where public safety and government accountability will likely be some of the top issues discussed. The event just got underway a couple minutes ago. The primary election is still months away, with the race right now between Mayor Scott and former Mayor Sheila Dixon. Dixon has said people want a change in leadership, primarily because of concerns about public safety.
It's very clear that people don't feel safe. So we can, this administration can tout the reduction, which, is one thing, but people don't feel safe in the city.
A recent poll also showed people want change. Dixon was referring to Mayor Brandon Scott's continued message that overall violent crime is down in the city. Fox 45's Keith Daniels is at tonight's town hall. He'll bring us a full report tonight on Fox 45 News at 10. Well, coming up, several Republicans throwing their hat in the ring for the job of the Speaker of the House. A look at all the possible contenders announced so far.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, questions surrounding the root cause of why a group of Republicans pushed to oust Speaker McCarthy.
And we're looking good overnight. Another mild start to tomorrow. Temperatures in the 50s to near 60. Patch or two of fog, and another day near 80 tomorrow. But I'll let you know when the bottom falls out and it comes at the cost of some rain. It's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Several Republicans in the U.S. House have already begun to position themselves for a run for Speaker just one day after Kevin McCarthy was removed from the job. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Ohio Representative Jim Jordan have both jumped into the race, announcing their bids for Speaker today. In a letter to his House GOP colleagues, Scalise referenced his leadership experience as former whip of the conference and as Majority Leader as reason he's best suited to be the next Speaker. Jordan told reporters today that he's prepared to unite the highly fractured GOP conference. Oklahoma Representative Kevin Hern is also expected to announce his bid for Speaker today. Now, as the House searches for a new Speaker, polling shows Americans are deeply dissatisfied with the way Washington works. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the very latest from Capitol Hill.
The House left without a speaker after Congress voted to oust Kevin McCarthy.
The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
8 Republicans fed up with his leadership say their vote on Tuesday is what the American people elected them to do.
I'm speaking for all of the voices in South Carolina, all the voices across the country that are equally frustrated with Washington being not accountable for anything or any decision or any spending that they do.
McCarthy's removal comes as recent polling shows Americans' views on politics and politicians are unrelentingly negative. The Pew Research Center finding 6 in 10 have not too much or no confidence in the future of the U.S. political system. When pollsters asked for one word to describe the current state of politics, the top responses included corrupt, dysfunctional, broken, and chaos.
Republicans who pushed the gavel out of McCarthy's hand argue they're on a mission to fix the way Washington operates.
A lot of my fellow Republicans are really angry and upset and politically frustrated that we're forcing them to do the work of governing.
This dissatisfaction with D.C. fueled the Tea Party movement in 2009 and 2010.
We just want people to listen to the people.
And helped pave Donald Trump's path to the White House in 2016.
When we win on November 8th, we are going to drain the swamp.
The extent of any such grassroots movement spurring the current unrest among some Republicans is still coming into focus. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins, Fox
45. Well, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the newly named interim speaker has ordered her to vacate her office in the Capitol building. An email sent from the interim speaker, Patrick McHenry's office, to Pelosi's office Tuesday evening said the office will be reassigned for speaker use and told Pelosi to have her things out by today. Pelosi, who will maintain her regular office in the Cannon House office building, called the eviction a, quote, sharp departure from tradition. McHenry was named Speaker pro tempore directly after Kevin McCarthy was ousted as Speaker.
All right, the Fox triple cast this evening. Look at that sunset beginning to take place on the Mile 1 Taos Cam and the Toyota East Unit Harbor Skycam. That's ahead of our next weather maker. You see it there in the Mississippi Valley. That's moving eastbound. Still a little bit of time till it gets here, but we got plenty of rain, even some severe weather and flood watches with it out in Texas and the Arklatex. That does not look like the case as it gets here. It's going to lose some gusto, but we are going to see again some rain potential that arrives after these beautiful warm days that we've been seeing with this next weather maker for the day on Friday, maybe even Thursday night, and then into early Saturday before, yes, cooler air moves in. So we are living on borrowed time at this point as the rain does move east. And look at this, kind of 2 cold fronts combining to provide us with, as we head into especially again, Saturday, Sunday, and beyond, some much cooler temperatures. Not going to be like this. 79, clear skies right now. Toyota East Unit Harbor Skycam. Enjoy it while we got it. Winds out of the southeast at 6. Look at this humidity. It has really dropped off today, 28%. So, of course, as it feels like the actual temperature. 79 degrees here in Baltimore, 78 at Cockeysville. No heat index to worry about this afternoon. 81 at Westminster, 82 at Frederick, and temperatures in the 70s right near the bay and the water. Now, the warmth continues for the remainder of today and into tomorrow. And in fact, still we'll have the last little bits of that warmth, I think, even on Friday, as high temperatures reach about 75 to 80, but then forget about it as we get into the weekend. Now, out in the tropics, Philippe taking a very similar track, interestingly enough, to what Lee took a couple of weeks ago. That's going to head toward Bermuda. Tropical storm watches are out, and then shoot northbound could impact directly eastern Maine and southern portions of Canada as it makes that move off toward our north and east. Could add some higher than average seas around here that we're going to have to be concerned with potentially at the beaches this weekend. Outside of that, it looks like the dry weather continues into this evening. And as we work our way through tomorrow, you are going to notice a few more clouds in the sky. I think any rain holds off, at least light stuff, probably until tomorrow night. There could be a sprinkle or a light shower. And then we're going to track that next weather maker in on Friday. I'm going to let you know how long the rain lasts into the weekend and when the cool down will abate in my Weather Authority exclusive 10-day forecast.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A hazy start to the day in Washington. Rowing teams on the Potomac River and planes departing Reagan National Airport had to contend with low visibility until it broke around 8 a.m. Thick fog blanketed some Tennessee valleys in the Blue Ridge Mountains this morning, but from this view, you get the benefit of seeing the mountain sunrise along with shining crepuscular rays.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
A congressman carjacked by 3 juvenile suspects at gunpoint near his home on Capitol Hill. How Metropolitan Police plan to handle the spike in youth crime across the district. A lawmaker near Capitol Hill was carjacked at gunpoint outside of his home earlier this week. Congressman Henry Cuellar, who was not injured, is the latest victim as carjackings continue to spike across Washington, D.C. Tom Rousey from our Sinclair sister station in D.C. has the story.
3 guys came out of nowhere and they pointed guns at me. I do have a black belt, but I recognize when you got three guns. I looked at one with a gun, another with a gun, one behind me. So they said they wanted my car. I said, sure, you got to keep calm under those situations. And then they took off.
Texas Congressman Henry Cuellar says police were able to get his vehicle and all his stuff back. As far as what the three guys with guns looked like,
they had masks, but you could still see that they were young.
The increase that we've seen of juveniles involved in these offenses is not something we've seen in years prior.
And Metropolitan Police Department Assistant Chief Carlos Herrad says it's not clear why.
We have to get in the heads of those juveniles and see, is it social media run? Is it lack of consequence? That's contributing to this? Is the conversations that they're having in school?
He says around a dozen MPD officers team with federal law enforcement for a carjacking unit.
How much do you concentrate on Navy Yard? It's an entire citywide approach, and we shift our resources as it's happening, very much real time.
Meanwhile, in addition to Capitol Police we saw in the neighborhood today, MPD tells us prior to the congressman's carjacking, it had already increased regular patrols in Navy Yard. Also, Mayor Bowser put out a statement reading in part, although we are seeing some positive trends in recent crime statistics, we are troubled when any individual is in a situation that makes them feel unsafe in our city. We will continue to identify common sense solutions necessary to fill any gaps in our public safety ecosystem, including proposing and supporting policies that ensure we are also addressing long-term, complex public safety challenges.
All right, your exclusive 10-day forecast, 81, warm again for tomorrow, near 80 on Friday, but showers come late in the day, lasting into Saturday morning. Going to have to watch those for the start of the O's game. If anything, it'll just be light, though, if there's anything left over. Good-looking day, but cool on Sunday. Look at those lows well into the 40s and highs only in the 60s well into next week, and a monster cool down possible by next weekend.
Then thank you. Well, finally tonight, the Goodwill Industries of the Chesapeake has finally opened the doors to its new tuition-free adult high school. Take a look at this. The brand new school called the Excel Center is located in downtown Baltimore. Officials say it will help fill a huge gap in the city's education system for an estimated 80,000 residents who didn't complete high school. The school will also help residents access to post-secondary education and lots of career options after they graduate from high school. That's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud is next. We'll see you back here for the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.